Hello everyone and welcome back to our series. In today's episode number 31, we're diving into something truly exciting. My first time calling the OpenAI API. We'll be exploring how hooks, the OpenAI API, and the power of standard interfaces all come together. So, what exactly is an API call? Think of it like a conversation. But instead of talking to a person, you're talking to a computer program. For a long time, these conversations were pretty basic. You'd ask a question, and if the program was designed to answer that specific question, you'd get a response. It was very limited, a bit like talking to someone who only knows a few pre-rehearsed lines. If you asked something slightly different, you'd just get a confused look or an error message. It wasn't a real flowing conversation. But then, large language models, or LLMs, came along and completely changed the game. Suddenly, our programs could understand and respond to us in a much more natural, human-like way. This was a massive leap forward. The problem was, how do we actually talk to these powerful new brains? Each company that built an LLM had its own special way of communicating with it. Imagine trying to talk to different people, but each one speaks a completely different, unique language that you have to learn from scratch. It was complicated and inefficient. This is where OpenAI stepped in and did something brilliant. They decided to standardize the process. They said, hey, instead of everyone creating their own complicated language, let's use something we all already know and use every day, HTTP. For those who might not be familiar, HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is the fundamental protocol of the World Wide Web. It's the language your web browser uses to talk to servers to fetch the websites you visit. It's a universal standard. So, OpenAI's idea was to take all the complex conversational magic of their LLM and wrap it up in a simple, standard HTTP interface. This means that any program on any device that can make a standard web request can now tap into the power of AI. It's like they created a universal translator. This is what we call an API, or Application Programming Interface. It's a set of rules and tools that allows different software applications to communicate with each other. In this case, the OpenAI API is our gateway to their powerful language models. Let's break this down with a simpler analogy. Imagine you want to order food from a futuristic restaurant, but instead of ordering a burger, you're ordering a piece of generated text or code. Calling the OpenAI API is like placing an order at this restaurant's digital counter. First, you need to prepare your order. This is called the request. Your request needs to have a few key things. The most important part is the prompt. This is what you want the AI to do. It could be a question like, what is the capital of France? A command like, write a short poem about the ocean, or even a piece of code you want it to complete. Next, you have parameters. These are like special instructions for the chef. For example, you can specify which AI model you want to use. Maybe you want the latest and greatest model like GPT-4, or a faster, more economical one for simpler tasks. You can also set things like the temperature, which controls how creative or random the response will be, or the max tokens, which limits the length of the answer. Once your order, or request body, is all packed up, you send it off to the restaurant, that is, the OpenAI servers. But how do they know who you are and that you're allowed to order? This is where the API key comes in. Think of your PI key as your exclusive membership card or your credit card for this restaurant. When you sign up for OpenAI service, you get a unique secret key. You have to include this key with every single request you make. It's like swiping your card at the counter. The server checks the key, verifies that it's you, and confirms that your account is in good standing. This authentication step is crucial for security and for billing, which we'll touch on later. Once your identity is confirmed and your order is accepted, the magic happens behind the scenes. The OpenAI servers take your prompt and parameters, feed them to the powerful AI model, and generate a result. This result is then packaged up into a response and sent right back to you. The response contains the generated text, often called the completion, along with some other useful information, like how much of your quota you used for that particular request. So, to recap the process, you, the developer, craft a request with a prompt and some parameters. You attach your secret API key for authentication. You send this request over the standard HTTP protocol to an OpenAI server endpoint, which is just a specific URL. The server validates your key, processes your request with the AI model, and sends a response back to you containing the generated content. The beauty of this entire system is its standardization. Because it's all built on top of HTTP, a protocol that has been around for decades and is understood by virtually every programming language and platform. Integrating AI into any application becomes incredibly straightforward. Whether you're building a website with JavaScript, a mobile app with Swift or Kotlin, a backend service with Python, or even a simple script, the process is fundamentally the same. You just need a library that can make an HTTP request. This creates a unified protocol and a unified entry point for accessing conversational intelligence. We no longer need to learn a dozen different proprietary methods. We have one standard, well-documented way to connect our applications to one of the most powerful tools ever created. It's this brilliant simplification that has unlocked so much innovation. Developers all over the world can now easily experiment and build new and amazing things without getting bogged down in complex integration issues. They can focus on what they do best, creating great user experiences. However, as I was making my first few calls and seeing the amazing responses come back, a question started to form in my mind. I noticed that each of these calls isn't free. There's a cost associated with it, and it's billed in a way I hadn't seen before. Pricing wasn't per call or per minute. It was billed by something called a token. I saw my usage going up with each request, measured in these mysterious units. What exactly is a token? Why does OpenAI use this specific method for billing? How does it relate to the words in my prompt and the AI's response? These are fascinating questions, and they get to the very heart of how these large language models actually work under the hood. Understanding tokens is key to using the API efficiently and cost-effectively. And that is exactly what we will be exploring in our next episode. We'll break down the concept of tokens, why they are the fundamental currency of LLMs, and how you can manage them to optimize your API usage. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the OpenAI API. It's a powerful tool, and we've only just scratched the surface. I hope this explanation was helpful. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our deep dive into tokens next time. See you in the next episode.